Hey everyone, top drivers. Welcome to a brand new video here on Universitatal Sim Racing. Today we're diving into a fresh simulator, Rennsport. We're coming off the big news that Rennsport will be available on consoles with full cross-platform support. This is huge. It's a real game changer for the sim racing community, finally bridging the gap between console and PC players. Until now, these two worlds have remained completely separate. A perfect example is Assetto Corsa Competizione, where certain consoles are missing updates or DLCs, and, most importantly, there's no way for console and PC users to race together. Rennsport is set to break down that barrier. Let's jump right in and take a first look at the sim. I'm pretty familiar with it since my team competes in the official Rennsport Championship, the ESL R1. This series has been running for a couple of years now, with some seasons featuring 2 championships per year, the full season and the spring season. This year, it looks like there will only be one. Now let's check out the car roster. Rennsport offers a solid selection of GT3 cars, including the Aston Martin, which actually made its sim debut here before later being added to Le Mans Ultimate in a recent update. There are also Audi, BMW, and Hyundai models, with the Hyundai TCR currently being the only touring car available. Other GT3 options include the Mercedes-AMG, the Porsche 911 GT3R, and a special Rennsport GT3R edition, a limited-run version that's slightly outside the usual regulations. There's also a solid lineup of LMDH prototypes with BMW and Porsche represented, plus electric models like the Porsche Mission R. And then there's the Praga R1, a small prototype that's an absolute blast to drive. It's gained quite a bit of popularity and was even featured in the original Assetto Corsa. As for tracks, we've got some all-time classics like Spa, Hockenheim, and the Nürburgring, including the legendary Nordschleife. Rennsport also features some fictional circuits, like Cresta Caras, if that's how you pronounce it, and Orchard Road Street Circuit, a street circuit set in Indonesia. Orchard Street has a pretty wild layout, with insane banked corners, even crazier than Turn 4 at Zandvoort. There's also Jeddah, which is impressively detailed, way more refined than the version you'll find in the F1 games. I'm not sure if it's a full laser scan of the real track, but the curbs and trackside details feel much more realistic. Plus, Rennsport was among the first sims to introduce the updated version of Spa. Now let's hit the track and see how it feels. Over the last 2 years, Rennsport has gone through a ton of updates, especially when it comes to tire physics and vehicle electronics. The devs have been working hard to push the realism to the next level. The graphics and UI have also come a long way since the early versions. The interface is now more intuitive, packed with useful data, and overall much nicer to look at. There's still plenty of room for development, but the team seems committed to their roadmap, aiming for a full release by late 2025. Along the way, we can expect new content drops and changes to the ranking system. Right now, they're testing a Battle Pass-style model that lets players unlock skins, stickers, cars, and other bonuses. If done right, this could be a great addition. But the real game changer is still cross-platform play. Finally, everyone, PC and console players alike, will be able to race together without limitations. This could make Rennsport a true benchmark for sim racing across multiple platforms. All right, let's see how it performs on track. One of the key aspects that has been tweaked multiple times is the tire model. I can say for sure that it has changed a lot from one season to the next, with updates first being implemented in the official championships and then made available to the public shortly after. For the Sims development, the devs have actively involved esports drivers, constantly refining the physics. But let's not forget, we're still in beta. The game has a ton of potential, but there's a big difference between being promising and actually becoming the title of the year. One of the first things you notice while driving is the high mechanical grip of the cars, mainly due to the tires. This makes it easy to carry a lot of rotation into corners without much trouble. However, there's a major issue: overheating. As soon as the tires get too hot, grip drops significantly. You don't completely lose control, but you end up in a sort of four-wheel drift, with all 4 tires sliding laterally. It's a very noticeable behavior and has a big impact on how you drive. The cars feel super planted to the asphalt, and the electronic aids work well. Traction control in particular is often set close to zero in this latest build. That said, I remember that in the version released after September last year, you had to crank it up to around 6 or 7 to prevent excessive tire overheating. At that time, thermal degradation was way harsher. Even a small temperature spike would cause the grip to vanish completely. That made driving incredibly tricky because every time you tried to get back on the throttle, the car would snap without warning. Another interesting aspect of Rennsport, maybe even a bit exaggerated at times, is how the cars handle curbs. You can pretty much fly over them without major consequences. This allows for a much more aggressive driving style, almost like a more arcade-style racing sim, without having to worry too much about losing stability. Braking feels somewhat similar to Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's not as extreme as in Le Mans Ultimate, where braking performance varies a lot depending on the car and race conditions. But in Rennsport, you can brake late and hard without too many issues. Of course, it depends on the situation and the car you're driving, but overall, the handling model lets you be very aggressive right up to the limit of the tires. The grip limit is incredibly high, allowing for an extremely aggressive driving style. On top of that, recovering the car is fairly easy, as you can see. The key is to keep the tire temperatures in check. Once they start overheating, the car gradually begins to slide. It's not a sudden loss of grip, but you can definitely feel the difference compared to when the tires are in their optimal temperature window. It's not an abrupt drop-off, but the decline is noticeable. You can also take a pretty big bite of the inside curbs without upsetting the car. It soaks them up with no issues. Driving without traction control is just as manageable because, as I mentioned earlier, the TC tends to cut power too aggressively. Most of the time, it's better to keep it off or set it to very low levels. ABS, on the other hand, is usually kept at higher settings, similar to how GT3s are handled in Le Mans Ultimate, to keep it working within its ideal range. The car also responds well when attacking curbs aggressively, making for an engaging and confident driving experience. I'm trying to show you just how controllable the car is and how much steering input you can use without unsettling it. If you look at the graph at the bottom of the screen, the key is to never let the bar turn completely red. Once that happens, you start losing way too much grip. As a sim, Rennsport still has a long way to go. Not because it's bad to drive, but because there are several areas that still need development. Game stability needs improvement, and the ranking system is still a work in progress. There's also a need for more content variety. Right now, the car roster is mostly focused on GT3s, with only a handful of other categories. A few GT4s, 2 LMDH prototypes, 2 TCR cars, plus one-make models like the Praga R1 and the Porsche Mission R. While these cars are interesting, a broader selection would definitely enhance the experience. Another key aspect is the community system, which already allows players to send friend requests and will likely support team creation directly within the game in the future. They've already implemented a lot of features, and compared to the first closed beta, released in February 2023, alongside the first round of the ESL R1, the progress has been significant. Speaking of ESL R1, it's the official championship that continues to be organized by ESL in collaboration with competition company, the studio behind Rennsport. On top of that, the title will receive additional backing from Nacon and another developer for both its console release and future updates. You can carry a lot of speed through the corners without much trouble. There's no need to be overly aggressive on the brakes, and right now I'm driving fairly cautiously just to give you a better look at how the game behaves. You can definitely push way harder. When the tire indicator on the display starts turning gray, like it just did, you can feel the grip dropping off. I'm driving without traction control, which makes this effect even more pronounced. But that's intentional. It's the best way to show you the fundamentals of the current handling model. One important thing to keep in mind is that the game's physics will continue to evolve. I'm pretty sure we'll see more updates because Rennsport is still in development and getting closer to its final stages. I expect they still have a few refinements planned, likely to fine-tune how the cars behave. I don't think they'll make any drastic changes to the overall driving feel, but we might see some minor tweaks, maybe adjusting responsiveness or allowing for a bit more aggression behind the wheel. This could also impact how electronic assists like traction control and ABS behave. When the tires turn gray, as you can see now, the grip really drops off. You end up having to apply full opposite lock to catch the car. This is a typical Rennsport characteristic, and it'll be interesting to see how they balance it in future updates. The other big news and the hottest topic right now is that Rennsport is going cross-platform and coming to consoles. There's a lot of hype around this, especially because console players don't have many true sim racing options. Right now, the only real simulator on console is Assetto Corsa Competizione, while games like iRacing and R-Factor 2 are PC exclusives. The idea of having a full-fledged sim on both platforms, with crossplay between PC and console users, is huge and could be a major step forward in expanding the sim racing scene. With that said, make sure to subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments what you think about Rennsport. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you soon, top drivers.